Daf Nun Beis Amud Aleph. We'll begin Nun Aleph Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. So we had in the Mishnah, we had the machlokes between Beis Sham, Beis Hillel, if Kedushas Hayom is first, if the Yain is first. Beis Hillel says, first you make the Bori Priya Gofen, then you make the Brach Makadosh Shabbos. Beis Shammai says it's the reverse. More says, V'halocha kedivir Beis Hillel. The halacha is like Beis Hillel. So first is Bori Priya Gofen, then Mekadosh Shabbos, or Mekadosh Yisrael V'azamanim. Frankly, more pshita. Well, of course the halacha is like Beis Hillel. We know the halacha is like Beis Hillel. And our Nafka Baskol, because the Baskol came out, and a Shemayim Baskol came out, and said the halacha is like Beis Hillel. Gemara says, one answer is Koine Baskol. This, what it says, the halach is like Beis Hillel, was said before the Baskol. The Baskol. Alternatively, it could be even after the Baskol. And it's going according to the Shita of Yeshua that we do not follow the Baskol. It's like B'Shamayim. It has to be, halacha has to be pasken by Bezdin. And therefore, it's telling us, notwithstanding that the Baskol came down, we still have to be told that the halacha is like Beis Hillel. Correct, the Gemara, is that so? Beis Shammai, the Birchas Hayom Adifa. Our Mishnah says that Beis Shammai holds that first is Mekadosh Shabbos, then Bori Priya Gofen, the Birchas Hayom takes precedence. Is that so? I'll ask you about time. We learned in the Brisa, Hanichnas L'Beisa b'Motzei Shabbos. A person comes home after Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos, Mevorach al Hayayin. So how does he make Havdalah? He makes Hayayin, V'al Amor, V'al B'Samim, V'achar Kach Omer Havdalah. So he makes a Bori Priya Gofen first. He makes a Bori Reish, then he makes the Besamim, and then he says Havdalah. So Havdalah is Kedushas Hayom. And here we see the Gabe Havdalah that Beis Shammai says, and apparently this is the Shita of Beis Shammai, as we'll see, that first is the Yayin, and then it's Kedushas Hayom, which is the opposite of what we're saying in the Mishnah, Lagabe Kiddush. So continue, the Brisa says again, now if he only has one kais of yain, and he's coming home, and he has to eat his malav the malka, and as we'll see, and as Taisus points out, and we'll see it's from the Gemara later, that Beis Shammai holds that when you bench, you have to have a kais. So if he only has one cup, and now he has to make Havdalah, but he has to have Malav Malka, and he has to bench with a kais, and he only has one. If he only has one, so what he does is that he eats his Suda first, and then he makes the benching, the Bori Priya Gofen, and the brachas for Havdalah. So Taisus asks, you can't eat without making Havdalah. So how can he have his Suda and bench all the kais and then make the Havdalah? So Taisus says, Beis Shammai holds that you aim before Chamelaka, you have to have a kais. You have to have a kais for benching. And since he has no alternative over here, Chazal were not machmir, they were not machmir to say that you cannot eat before Havdalah. Al Kol Panim, we say over here that the order, the Seder for Havdalah is first Yayin, first Bori Priya Gofen, and Havdalah comes afterwards. The Hamavdil comes later. So you see over here that the Yayin takes precedence over Kedushas Hayom. In fact, the Gemara was a side kasha. Hami Maida Beis Shammai. You're asking me a kasha from this Brisa, and you're asking me a kasha on our Mishnah. Well, how do you know that this Brisa is Beis Shammai? How do you know Bichlal it's the Shita of Beis Shammai? Beis Hillel, maybe it's the Shita of Beis Hillel, and then there's no problem why Yain goes first, because that's the Shita of Beis Hillel. Or says Loisal Gedaitach. No, you can't say that this is Beis Hillel. It must be Beis Shammai. Loisal Gedaitach Tani more V'achar B'Samim, because it says that the order of Havdalah is more Bar Reish and then B'Samim. Now that's the Shita of Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel holds that it's B'Samim comes before Bar Reish. Uman Shamad Leidis Lehaisvar. Who's the one that holds that more comes first? Beis Shammai. Desanya Rav Yehuda loy nechleku Beis Shammai Beis Hillel ala mazon shebetchila. Rav Yehuda said Beis Shammai Beis Hillel are not arguing on mazon, on benching, like this case here where he only has one kais, that benching comes first, val havdalah shiba seif, and that havdalah hamavdil is at the end. So the first thing is benching, and a mavdil is at the end. Alman nechleku. So what are they arguing? Alamor v'lam. They argue on the order between Bor Mereish and Besamim. Beis Shammai are more v'akach Besamim. Beis Shammai says the order is more, and then Besamim. Beis Hillel and Besamim v'akach more. So therefore, l'chayra, the brisa must be Beis Shammai, and it seems to contradict our Mishnah where Beis Shammai says Kiddush comes first and then Bor Priyagofen, and here by Havdalah they say Bor Priyagofen and then a Mavdil. Frank the Gemara, well, it's only so, you've only proven that this is Beis Shammai, and this is according to Beis Shammai, if you follow the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. But there's a machloikes, as we'll see on Amud Beis, there's a machloikes, what Beis Shammai really holds. Now, this is true when you've established that the Bryce is Beis Shammai according to the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, that's correct. But we might the Beis Shammai, Rabbi Yehuda, how do you know this Bryce is following the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda? Dilma Beis Hillel, Rameir. Maybe the Bryce is following the sheet of Rameir, and Rameir says that this order that we brought down over here is really Beis Hillel. Because according to Rameir, Beis Hillel holds that it's more and then it's Besamim. Gemara says, Loisal Gedait, you can't say it's Rabbi Meir, it must be Rabbi Yehuda, Loisal Gedait, Liktane Hacha B'mas Nissen, because our Mishnah holds, Beis Shammai Omrim Ner, Umosain B'samim V'avdol. In our Mishnah, it says that the sequence is Ner first, then benching, then B'samim, and then Avdol. Beis Hillel Omrim Ner U'B'samim, Mosan V'avdol. And Beis Hillel says it's Ner, B'samim, Moza, and benching, and Avdol. That's in the sheet. That's the Mishnah. Now, v'hasan b'baraisa ktani mein lo yela kais echad. He only has one kais. Menich olachar hamazon. He leaves it till after benching. U'mishalshin kol lachar. That benching comes first. So that's not like our Mishnah. That's not like the order of our Mishnah. Shema minod Beis Shammai hiva libid Rabbi Yehuda. So it must be that the brisa is Beis Shammai, according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that everyone agrees that it's when you have only one kois, that everyone agrees that Mishalshim Kulum Lachayra. And yet you see over here that the order is that it's more, and then it's Besamim, so that must be the Shita of Beis Shammai, Alibid Rabbi Yehuda. And they say that the order of Havdalah is first Yayin, and Havdalah comes afterwards. So it must be the Shita Beis Shammai. And you see the Beis Shammai holds the Gabe Havdalah, that it's Yayin comes before Havdalah. So therefore, what we see, it seems to be a contradiction in Beis Shammai. We've established that the Brisa is going according to Beis Shammai, Alibid Rabbi Yehuda. And the Mishnah is saying that Beis Shammai says that the Kedushas Hayom takes priority over the Yayin, and the Brisa, we see by Havdalah, Beis Shammai says that the Yayin takes priority as before, and Kedushas Hayom, Havdalah is afterwards. So Mikol Malkum Kasha. So you see a Kasha, it seems to be a contradiction, apparent contradiction between Beis Shammai Shita by Kiddush and by Havdalah. So Mikol Magam Kasha, Gemara answers, no. Kasavre Beis Shammai Shiny Iluya Yoim Mafuke Yoim. It's true. It's true by that by Kiddush Beis Shammai says Kiddush is Yoim is first and Yain is after. And it's true that by Havdalah they say that Yain is first and Kiddush is Yoim is last, but there's a fundamental difference. When you're talking about Kiddush, you're bringing in Shabbos, you're bringing in Yom Tov over there, so we want to bring it in as soon as possible. The sooner the better. We want to be makdim the Kedushas Hayom. When it comes to Havdalah, we want to delay it. We don't want to depart from the Kedushas Shabbos. We reluctantly depart from it, so we delay it. So by Kiddush, the Kedushas Hayom Kiddush comes first. By Havdalah, we delay it till after the Yayin. Shiny Eluya Yom Fukiyam. Eluya Yom, bringing in the day, bringing in Shabbos, Kama the Makdaminale, Adiv. The earlier you bring it in, the better. Afuke Yoma, but when you're departing from the day, when you're being Mavdil, Kama the Ma'achmanle, Adiv. Delaying it, the more you delay it, the better. So therefore, by Havdalah, Yayin is first and Havdalah is last. It should not appear that it's a burden to us. It's not a burden to us. So we want to delay the departure of Shabbos. So it's implicit in the case over here that we're saying that if he only has one cup, that he delays it till afterward, Havdalah, till after benching. So it's implicit in that Beis Shammai is Beis Shammai, that they hold that Birchas Hamazon Tuna Kais, that benching requires a Kais. You must bench on a Kais, and that's why you can now drink from the wine. Therefore, you can rather eat from the Suda before making Havdalah al-Kais, because since benching requires a Kais, and if he only has one Kais, if he would now make Havdalah first al-Kais, he wouldn't be able to bench. So therefore, normally we don't allow you to eat the Suda. We don't allow you to eat without making Havdalah first. But over here, we say that he eats the Suda, and after benching, after he makes benching al-Kais and then Havdalah. So that's only because Birchas Hamazon Tuna Kais. Well, is it true that Beis Shammai holds that it requires a Kais? Vatzanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Balhem Yain Lachar Hamazon, if they have, after the meal, they brought wine, and he hasn't benched yet, but he finished the meal, now they're bringing wine. If he only has that one kais, Beis Shammai Oimrim, Mevorach ala yayin, v'achach mevorach ala mozain. Beis Shammai says, you make a bracha on yayin, on that cup, and mozain benching afterwards. So my love, the mevorach ilave v'shosel, where it makes a bracha on the yayin, so apparently he drinks the wine. And now he's already drunk from the wine. And now he's benching. So he's not benching ala kais. You're telling me that Beis Shammai holds that Birchas Hamazon Tuna Kais. And that's why if he only has one kais, so he eats the Suda, and then he does Havdalah after the benching ala kais. Well, here we see that it says in the Mishnah, if he only has one kais, they brought him the wine after the Suda, he hasn't benched yet, he drinks from the kais and then benches. So my love them and therefore he will not have a kais for benching. He drinks from it. He makes a bracha on it rather, but he doesn't drink it. He leaves it for benching. What do you mean he doesn't drink it? He makes a bracha. He has to drink from it. What it means to say is that he takes a sip from it. He only has one kais. He has the wine after the so he makes a bracha, he drinks from it, takes a sip, then he leaves the rest of it to bench on, have benching al kais with the remainder. How can you say that? If he drinks a little bit from it, it makes it pogum. His drinking from it now makes it not roy to be a kais shel bracha anymore. That makes a pagam in it, and that makes a defect, a blemish in it. It's not worthy of being a kais shel bracha anymore. So then he has. Still, it comes back weiter, he doesn't have a kais shel bracha. More answers, the time le biyade. He's time le biyade. He pours a little bit of the wine out. He doesn't put it to his mouth. He doesn't put it to his mouth and drink it. He pours a little bit out of his hand. He drinks it from his hand. So he has not drunk from the kais itself. He has not made it a kais pogum. He's able to drink a little bit. He makes a bracha. He's able to drink a little bit of the wine. And then the remainder that's in the kais, he uses for benching. The Rashba says, and Beis Hillel holds that also would be pagimit, therefore that's not an alternative according to Beis Hillel. But Beis Shammai says that does not render the kais pogum, and therefore he has that alternative. He makes the bracha, he spills a little bit in his hand, he drinks it from his hand, and the remainder is for benching. How does that help? If benching requires a koshel bracha, it needs a shiur. If he spilled some out, he poured some out, then he's missing something from the kais. So it's still not a valid koshel bracha. He doesn't have a shiur. So koshel bracha tzarach shiur v'akapachas le'mishiur. And now, by spilling it out, he diminishes it. It doesn't have the proper shear. The Gemara answers the nafesh leit famous shear. No, the kais shel bracha had more than the minimum amount required for the shear. It had more than what the minimum was needed. He poured some out, and the remainder was still enough wine, was still a shear for kais shel bracha. Frankly, Gemara, how can you say that he had more than what was required? The Mishnah says if he only has that one kais, Gemara answers, it means he only has one kais, meaning he doesn't have two kaises, he doesn't have double the share that's required. He has a little more than the minimum, but not enough to make up a second kais. So he has a little bit more, he has something more than a minimum required for one kais, but he doesn't have enough wine for two kaises. So that's what he means if he only has one kais. Practicing more about Tani Rebbe Chia Beishami Oimri Mevorach Al Yain V'Shoiseyu V'Achakach Mevorach Birchas HaMozain. It says, he says, you Mevorach Al Yain V'Shoiseyu, and you drink it. And then you bench. Doesn't that show you clearly that Beis Shammai says that Birchas Hamazon does not require a kais? The answers yes. And Chanami, that's true. We see that from here. This Tana with Beis Shammai says Birchas Hamazon does not require a kais, but the Tana of the Brisa holds that Beis Shammai says that Birchas Hamazon does require a kais, and therefore in the Brisa it says if he only has one kais, and he's coming home and makes Havdalah, and he will not have another kais for benching, then Mishalshim Kul L'Achra.